is it really based on a true story? Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, I approached it like a documentary from the start. No, I really didn't. I heard the story. I heard the story, or saw the story as a piece of newsreel footage in a sort of an archive show. And as soon as I saw it, it just struck me as this is just a really brilliant, simple story and a good setting for a movie. And I really didn't do any research after that because I didn't want to interrupt the telling of the story with the facts. It's crazy that might sound. The previous movie I had written was set in the famine, and it's such a burden. The famine is such a, you know, such a moral burden that you can't not research it, and then you can't alter it for the benefit of the story. So it was a really well researched and bad movie. So with this, I just want to tell the story in a really pure way, and I suppose if it's rebellious at all, it's to rebel in a sort of in a very simple way, to say this is you know, as Irish people, all our films don't have to be sort of profound or kind of, you know, contemplating our own existence. We can go out there and tell good stories, and that's what we've done for a long time. I think if I was from Hollywood, I probably would have made a really serious film.
More questions?
Where did you find those boys?
I mean, they're magical, the kids, but we had we saw about maybe 5,000 kids, I think, from the park, because the area that they're from in Cork is it's about as close to a cliched Irish accent as you'll get. So we couldn't cast a kid from somewhere else in Ireland. For starters, you couldn't put the mechanism of doing an accent into a kid's performance. Kids don't. All you do with a kid is you try and put them into situations and ask them to behave. And I don't mean behave properly. I mean react. Yeah. And so you can't ask them to articulate the way that an adult actor can articulate. I even feel that, you know, your job as a director is to try and not necessitate the older actors to have to react like that either. I think you want to create an environment where everybody's reacting. That's naturalistic. And these kids were, the reason why they ended up being like 5,000, we saw about 2,500 kids first. Over about 6 months, narrowed them down to 5 kids. It was like, we were looking at kids between 10 and 12, and we found ourselves in a room with the 5 kids, and on the day that we were going to go and say, right, these are our kids, cast the 2, and we're sitting in a hotel room in Cork, and it was like, it's about 3.5 hours down and back to Cork every time that we went from Dublin. And we were sitting there, and I had this really awful, Mac and I were discussing, you know, should it be this kid or that kid? He was talking to me, and I just went, you know what, they're not, we shouldn't have to debate these kids. They should be like instant. And he was mid-sentence going, and I think this kid, and I went, you know what, they're not here. And he went, you're dead right. And we literally started from scratch, and we went younger. And part of the reason we went younger was that, like, so a 10-year-old when I was 10 is probably like an 8-year-old now. There was no internet. There was no. Their kids are growing up sooner. And what I mean by growing up is that difference. For me, the difference between an adult and a kid is cynicism. Yeah, you're a kid as long as you believe that the world isn't out to get you. As long as you believe the world is a good thing, and you become an adult when you realize that that's maybe not the case. But it's still nice to think that, yeah, people are good. So yeah, the truth, sorry, let's come back to the first question, but the truth of the story is that a pilot did crash his plane in Mallow, on the race course, and wasn't very much damage to the airplane itself, and the locals did come together and they built a runway, and got him home, and really that's something that I never messed with. But the funny thing was, not having researched it, when we screened it recently in Cork, in Cork City for the first time, and this guy had got in touch with me. He was like the fly-on-the-wall cameraman throughout the thing, and he had sent me this video, and it was quite brilliantly done for in an amateurish, no, I don't say in an amateurish way, but he didn't have any facilities to make this sort of fly-on-the-wall news report. but he did a really good job of it. And he was really loyal to the story, and I was terrified he was going to come out and go, "Oh my God, you made such a balls of it. You know, this didn't happen, that didn't happen." And he came in after the show, and he said, "Oh my God, you know, it works on its own. You know, regardless of how close it is to truth or not." And he said, "I need to introduce you. This is such and such who organised he was a local politician at the time." And I swear to God, it was like Donica, who plays the mayor character. And he said, "And this is the guy who was the kind of engineer, who was this big, tall, kind of stoic person." And it was, for me, it was really just a really surreal, almost like that movie that what is it Big Fish, Tim Burton movie, and it's like this fantasy kind of retelling of a story, and then you see all the characters, and the character who was super tall has stilts and whatever stuff. For me, it was my own. That was the kind of moment.
Good.
Right off the bat.
How many days did it take to shoot, and how did you build the team up? I know the director, but the art direction, cinematography, and costumes even. Everything was great.
Yeah, we shot, it was about 37 or 39 days. 37 days. Producers take days off shoots. But yeah, so it was about 37-day shoot, which is generous, you know, as a first-time director, it's a generous amount of time to have to make a movie. If you weren't making it with a kid in every shot, and an airplane, and, you know, all the things that you shouldn't do with bull and whatever. So yeah, from that point of view, it was tricky. And then just in terms of the team, Ray, who's the production designer, I've worked with on lots of commercials and stuff, so I collaborated with him a lot. And PJ, who shot it, was someone who I'd never worked with before, but I knew PJ, you know, as a contemporary, and I really admired his work. And one of the things that I knew PJ would bring to it was a sort of, he had worked on a lot of independent films, and I had made a lot of commercials, and part of the problem when you make commercials, you have a lot of time to do very little, and I needed somebody who could do a lot in very little time, and that's exactly what PJ did. And we ended up having a really brilliant collaboration where we didn't. So rather than go into a situation and say, okay, here's the way I want to shoot it, I would say to him, okay, where is the light best? And he was like, that way. If you're looking that way most of the time, I won't have to put up any lights. And I go, okay, grand. And I'd then structure or block out the scenes so that would be the way that we were facing for most of it, and we just have to fill in with the odd light here or there. So it was very, he worked very quickly.
Where did you shoot it?
Where's the sniper?
Where did you shoot it? My people were from Mallow, so I want to know.
Yeah, we shot actually in West Cork as opposed to Mallow. Mallow is kind of like it's almost feels like a city now when you're in it. I mean, it was 1983 when this happened. Like the thing that drew me to the story off the bat was just the contrast of time. You have this like Ireland in 1983 was almost like a sort of a former Eastern Bloc country. You know, we were closer to what we're like now. You know, we had no opportunity, but we had a will to make it happen. And Mallow, when we went and wrecked the place, just felt affluent, and it felt wrong, and it would have been logistically a nightmare. So McDara's dad has a place down really close to where we shot, and Mac was like, I think we might end up shooting this in school. And I was like, I don't know, you know, part of it, when you're a director, part of you's going, is that because it's going to be convenient for the production and whatever? But in fairness, Mac isn't like that as a producer, and we went down and it was perfect. It was, I mean, what I wanted to try and do, and I don't know even that I succeeded because it's so seductive, is, you know, I grew up in the country, in the countryside in Ireland, and when you're a kid, it's not beautiful, it's boring. You know, you're people go, oh my God, isn't it amazing that you can go out and admire the countryside? And the kid will look at it like, where's the swings? You know, you want to try and get into the heads of these kids to present it as I suppose an idyll, but not for them as such, I suppose.
Let's take this gentleman's question.
What kind of exposure has the movie gotten in Ireland, and how's it been received?
We've very small exposure actually. We've screened at the two sort of main festivals, Galway and Cork. We've been really lucky.
Can you just repeat that phrase, that general release is not just going to be?
Oh yeah, well, no, we won't be general release here in June 10th, but we will have a US release.
They're getting a US release.
Yeah, Spanish actress. Where were they from?
Well, the main Spanish, they are brothers in real life, and the American producer had sent the script to a casting agent called Annie McCarthy, and Annie kind of is a big casting agent, so she had, the funny thing about the way Hollywood works is that a powerful casting agent can get you a little bit of leverage for a smaller film because they, all the agents want to talk to the casting agent. And so that kind of got us across the door with an agent called Carlos Carreras from UCA, who's their specialist in Latino actors. And I wasn't, for my sins, I wasn't very well clued up on, I mean, there are iconic actors and then there are the stalwarts. And so he sent me all these reels. And as soon as I saw Damien, I was like, this guy's a complete star. And I mean, Damien Bashir, who plays the pilot, he's a total star. In Mexico, he's in Weeds, yeah, of course, he's in Weeds. He was in Soderbergh's Shay as well. He played Castro, and that did a fantastic job. But I was like, so I got back to Carlos and I said, if this guy would do it, he's like perfect. And in fairness, the most benevolent thing that happened, almost bar none, was that Damien committed. Normally you do a pay or play. Before we even had finance, he read the script and I want to do this, and went out of his way to say that he would do it whenever it was going to happen. And he came with all the best will in the world. I couldn't speak more highly of, I mean, a small story to indicate the type of guy that he is. We were shooting and we had, we did a lot of the interiors first, and we had just Damien and the little boy, and then we went to one of our exteriors and we brought in all the other actors. And Damien had a trailer. We didn't have money to give everybody a trailer. So Damien had a trailer, and he came up to me on set, and we were only about a week into the shoot. He said, I need to talk to you about my trailer. And I was going, oh my God. It's the kind of stories that you hear, and he wants an extension or a pool or something. He said, I see the other actors don't have a trailer. And I said, yeah, look, I'm sorry. I'd love to give everyone a trailer. Are they annoying you? And he said, we're all actors. It's an ensemble. They share in one. And I just thought that's the most beautiful thing. And that was the spirit that he kind of engendered in everybody. And I think there's a real the thing I learned from him actually is that a movie star has a real responsibility to the work, because they set a tone that then going forward the rest of the cast pick up on. And he swept everyone up with that. He was amazing with the kid. He taught Jamie little things that I would never know to articulate in terms of performance, and he's just fantastic. Yeah, it's great. And he said, if you're trying to cast my brother, maybe you'd like to cast my brother. I saw his reel, and he was fantastic as well, and totally different as well. They each seemed to be kind of right for the part, and he's as nice as pie as well. So we looked at it.